Leafs ravaged with injuries in their loss to the Capitals. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, the daily Maple Leaf centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if their first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. I'd be betting against the Maple Leafs right now. And if you bet against them tonight in their 4-0 loss to the Washington Capitals, you would have came out ahead, Dave. What did you make of that one, pal?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. You know, we were talking about the tank. Leafs tank may have gotten a little bit of a boost. Mm-hmm. Not the way we expected it to happen, but yeah, I mean, the Capitals, they're such a weird team. Like sometimes they look like the team from last year where they're really good. And then some days they get spanked 8-1 by the Rangers. You just don't know which team is going to show up.
No, it's not like they really outplayed Toronto realistically. Like it was a pretty low event kind of dud game for the most part. It was, really quickly there to start the second period, the Maple Leafs took the foot off the gas and Washington scores a couple goals, bang, bang. They go up 3-0 and they're able to coast from there on out because the Maple Leafs just can't score right now. It's very difficult for them to come back from a 3-0 lead, especially with a decent goaltender like Logan Thompson. But I would say the real story from this game, obviously, Dave, was the injuries. That was the story of this game here. Toronto suffered 3 injuries in the game, 1 to each position, basically. You had Dakota Joshua leave the game due to injury. Brandon Carlo left the game due to injury. And Anthony Stolarz also leaving the game due to injury. So after the game, we were told by Craig Berube, I believe I saw there was an update on the situation and on the status of these 3 players going into tonight's game against the Islanders. It's never good when you get 3 injuries on night one of a back-to-back. You got to call up a bunch of different guys, and now you got a potential, goalie situation kind of popping because Stolarz left the game with injury. He's not going to be able to play in this one. But let me break these down kind of individually, or I guess as a whole. Like, do we see any of these guys coming back this season? Like at this point, like
Stolarz look like that's like he's done.
Yeah. So Stolarz, that one specifically, I guess, he just kind of like a nothing play too. Just went, kicked out, kick save, like a very natural kick save, and then just kind of goes down and, looked shaken up, couldn't put any weight on his leg there. And that's probably going to be it for Stolarz for the season. I know after the game, Berube didn't say for sure that he was going to be done for the year, but with just a handful of games left, I mean, there's just follow in Florida's footsteps and kind of shut him down, and you could probably say the same to Dakota Joshua and Brandon Carlo. Just shut it down for the season for these guys. No risk. Don't risk any further injury or anything. And you can also, with these injuries, get a look at some other guys. Sounds like the Leafs plan on calling up Artur Akhtiamov to start in the game tonight against the Islanders. Sounds like Luke Haymes is finally going to get into his first NHL game, and I believe William Villeneuve going to come up and play in this game against the Islanders as well. You might as well let those guys get a little bit more of a runway and kind of, finish up the season. There's no point in playing Joshua, Carlo, or Stolarz anymore.
No, and Stolarz needs imaging, so there's no point relate to that. Luke Haymes, be nice to see him get his NHL debut.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also because Bo Gruel's got to go back down for waivers.
Mm-hmm.
So by virtue of we got no one else, you got to go up. You got to play, which is good. Like, I want to see Luke Haymes get a game. Should have been probably a lot earlier.
Yeah.
This, in my opinion. Yeah, again, any of these guys that are hurt, there's no reason to really play them at this point. Like especially Dakota Joshua's had his fair share of injuries. We know that Brandon Carlo was dealing with something earlier in the year. So let these other guys play. The Marlies have clinched their playoff spot. It's not like it'd be nice for them for playoff seeding to get, their lineup back for sure. But I'm sure if you ask these guys on the Marlies what they would rather be doing, I think earning an NHL paycheck would be, high up on the list for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be. And especially for Haymes, who gets to make his debut, right? He's never got a chance to play in the NHL. And he'll make his debut tonight against the New York Islanders. So that'll be special for him. He's someone who, with a little bit more of an elevated role since and in and around the deadline, he's definitely played a lot better in his first season as a pro coming from the collegiate level. So he'll get a chance and an opportunity to kind of show up. And yeah, Quillen's had his shot, and obviously Bo Grew's had his chance. Now it's time to see what Luke Haymes can do, if he can be part of the puzzle moving forward. And if he's someone who, it's nice to get a look at these guys, even if they're in these, final few games that aren't very meaningful, just to give them the experience of what it's like to play against NHLers, right? Like now, Villeneuve, Bo Grew, Jacob Quillen, and then tomorrow Luke Haymes is going to get into the lineup. Now they'll know what it's like to play in the NHL, what they need to get better at, how much faster the game is, so that this offseason they can figure out what they need to get better at, right? Where they lacked, where they struggled to adapt to the NHL game. Well, now you have an idea, and it's not just all up in your head because you finally have that experience of what it's like to play an NHL game. So I think it's at least, if we're looking at silver linings to the injuries sustained in this game against Washington, it'll give a couple of young guys an opportunity to suit up. And hey, Artur Akhtiamov is going to make his first NHL start as well. The reason why it's Akhtiamov and not Hildeby is because Hildeby played last night. So much like Joseph Woll, Hildeby, both those guys playing the night before, don't want them playing on back-to-back nights. So they go down to the fourth goalie on the list, Artur Akhtiamov, and he'll make his first career NHL start against the Islanders. And did Joseph Woll make his first start against the Islanders too? No, he has his first shutout against the Islanders a few years ago, actually. I think that was the connection there. So we'll see. I'm not expecting a shutout at all. Obviously, the Islanders fighting for one of those final playoff spots, much like the Capitals were. And for Team Tank, I think everyone's okay with giving the Islanders a full 2 points in reg, and we could just kind of move on with the year. But Toronto getting a little closer. They're now 27th place after this regulation loss to Washington tonight. Florida now moves up to 26th, and that's based on the tiebreaker of regulation wins. So only one spot now remains between Toronto and 27th and that fifth pick. And it's a 3-point difference between the Leafs and the Kraken. But boy, there's some Kraken news we got to get into. They've lost 5 in a row, and they're now looking for a new president over in Seattle. So not a good situation in Seattle either, making things a tad more difficult for the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, let's take a break. Let's come back. We can put a bow on this one. Was that the last time we saw Alex Ovechkin inside Scotiabank Arena? We'll have that chat and more coming up next in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Quo. Spring is a natural reset point, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communications. Missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews. Trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, it lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, text, or opportunity. The part I love, everything lives in one clean thread. Calls, texts, voicemails. And the AI summary saves serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make this the season. No opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockdownNHL. That's quo.com/lockdownNHL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's show is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking with you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes at Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast. Free and available wherever you find your podcasts. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We're on our road to 7,000. I think we're only about 75 subscribers away from getting to 7K. It's kind of our goal by the end of the year. So we're so close to making that happen. So if you are enjoying the podcast, you're a first timer, or you pop in periodically, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Help us get to our goal. Leave a like, a comment down below as well. And let us know, was that the last time that we see Alex Ovechkin? Is it the last time we see him in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena? Dave, what do you think? Was that it for Ovi in Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a chance to listen to Locked On Capitals to see what they're saying, but he did say he's leaving the decision for the off season. He won't discuss it really until the off season, which it makes sense. I also do wonder if the Capitals push it a little bit too, right? Like they want to give him a chance to think about what he wants to do, but at the same time, they're going to need a little bit of clarity themselves, right? If Ovechkin wants to come back, I doubt it's going to be wanting to be playing for another team, and the Capitals need to make that work in their plans, right? So, we also know that he always wanted to go back to Russia to finish his career as well. That's always been a part of his plan. So, how many more kicks at the can does he want to do in the NHL, right? When he probably also wants to go back to Russia as well. He's set himself up pretty nicely when it comes to the record books, right? Got the goals record there. He's won a cup, right? And I think he needs to know where the Capitals stand in terms of their position. Last year, they were winning. So he probably thought to himself, well, if this team is winning, I might as well stick around and see if I can help be a part of that. Not winning this year, if the this season maybe makes him wonder if this is a sign where the team is kind of in a transition, right? Does he want to be a part of that? And I think that comes down at the end of the season where the Capitals really truly assess where they're going and what they want to do. And I think that will kind of help him make his decision. I'm skeptical that he comes back.
The only thing that might allow him to come back, that he might want to go one more year, one more kick at the can. Well, two reasons. One, there's actually a decent core there where they can remain competitive. So it's not like a pity thing for Ovi. They're actually a competitive team that's chasing a playoff spot. But more than that, although he broke Gretzky's, all-time goal record for the regular season, he does trail Gretzky's goal record for regular season plus playoffs, but he's not that far off. Now, I don't think they're going to make it into the playoffs. I do think that they're a little bit further away, even with tonight's win. 89 points. It's close. Like, it's only a 3-point difference between them and the wild card, but there's 3 teams ahead of them, and all 3 of those teams have games in hand as well. So it's a little tricky for Washington. They need some things to go their way to make the playoffs this year. So I don't think he's going to break the record this year, obviously. And I believe the number he's at is, I think he needs 11 more goals to break that record for combined regular season and playoffs. Like, you're that close. I mean, let's say you get, I don't know, another 2 goals the rest of the way, and all of a sudden you're within 10 goals of that record. You're going to hang him up being that close. I feel like that's kind of the last possible record that he could want to chase down. Like, he's got the most in the regular season. Well, how about you go for the most all-time recorded goals in NHL history and down that Gretzky record that no one thought was ever going to get broken either, and truly cement yourself as possibly the greatest goal scorer of all time. He might already be that, but I still think that he's so close. Sure. Why not just come back for one more year just to get that record? It's not like Washington's going to shoo you away. Ted Leon just loves this guy like he's his own son. Yeah. He is going to tell Washington, if Ovi wants to come back, he will come back. He'll put him out on the power play. He will do strictly offensive zone draws, basically like he did all season this year. Let him score 15 goals by Christmas, and then he can have a phantom injury and ride off into the sunset. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't even look to see what he was making this year, because I do wonder. I mean, he's not going to ask for a massive contract either. No. So, like, it's not like cap space would be this team's problem. Like, he's getting $9.5 million this year.
Yeah.
That was to end a 5-year contract he signed in 2021. Like,
good bargain deal, I would say also.
Considering what he's done, yeah. Like, even the last few years in his late 30s. Like,
that's what I mean. Great contract that he ended up getting there from Washington.
We know Washington has, I give them credit. They have found ways to stay competitive, even though you wonder how they don't really have like a ton of, like, their blue line is locked in for the most part next year. I think it's just Liljegren. I'm looking at Liljegren and Van Riemsdyk are the only 2 that are free agents. So, like, their core blue line is locked in.
Yeah.
I think, like, yeah, they got some RFAs that they got. I think McMichael and Lapierre are the only 2 like big RFA decisions. UFA, David Kampf, get rid of that contract off the books. Finally, that contract can be banished forever. So, like, yeah, they like the Capitals don't have. Like, they're not in a position where they're like, we got so many players we got to bring back and re-sign. We don't know if it's really going to work and fit. They can. Like, it's pretty simple. And Ovi taking less money than he's making now also would free up the chance for the Capitals to do other things as well.
Correct. I don't think Ovi would prohibit them from doing what it like. If he wants to come back and play one more year, it almost is like, all right, come back. We'll give you $1 million. You can play however many games you want, but we're going to take the rest of that money and try and build the team moving forward. Like, if you're coming back, we're doing you a solid. So take the $1 million, get your record. And while you're doing that, we can focus on building a championship in the meantime. And you can be part of it if you want to be part of it for the whole year. But obviously his main goal probably would be to get that record, I would imagine. So my stance is, I think he comes back for one more year, Dave. I think he comes back to break that record. I truly do. Whether he finishes next year, finishes the season, I don't know. But I think he at very least comes back to break that record. I think so. All right. we'll take another break. We'll come back. Let's get back into the Leafs. So a loss of the Capitals last night. They're back in action. They've got the New York Islanders. So home to Washington. They got to travel down to Long Island to take on the Capital or to take on the Islanders. They've got a slew of young talent joining them on the road trip. So we'll dive into that game in just a couple of moments. Who's going to start in place of the injured Anthony Stolarz, who's making their debuts, and so much more. And also, there was some big news in the NHL today that could pertain to the Maple Leafs. We'll get to that news as well next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NHL playoffs are around the corner where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you here. And the Maple Leafs back in action tonight. Game 2 of a back-to-back. And, of course, the injuries to Dakota Joshua, Brandon Carlo, and Anthony Stolarz in Washington. All three of those players have already been declared out by Craig Berube post-game after Washington. And he also did acknowledge that the Maple Leafs will have Artur Akhtiamov come up and start in goal for the Maple Leafs. And they will also have William Villeneuve and Luke Haymes come up from the Marlies as well. And Haymes making his NHL debut against the Islanders in this one. So, I mean, it just makes sense. Let's get a look at a couple more young guys. It's a tough matchup, though. You know, the Islanders, I know they haven't been winning a whole lot of games, but they're looking to get the new coach bump, Dave. It's game 1 of the Peter DeBoer era in New York.
They're kind of fortunate they've had this break to get him. Like, you want, like, people are like, oh, this one in the season, they've been off since Saturday.
Yeah, 5 days off. Bizarre at this late in the year to get 5 days off. Like, who the heck gave them that beautiful gift of a schedule?
Yeah, and it's and this one, by the way, for people, it's 6:45 start.
Yeah, I don't know why. Very bizarre. 6:45 start time.
So it's gonna be a big game for the Islanders. Yeah, new coach bump and just a mess of what's kind of happened to their season. Like the Flyers and Blue Jackets out of nowhere. I mean, the Blue Jackets have been around for a bit, but the Flyers kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, we're
just like, hello.
Well, the Flyers, the Penguins. No one expected the Penguins to be a playoff team this year. They, have themselves cemented in the Metro. So, like, that's 2 teams that I certainly didn't have on my playoff card, let alone contenders, let alone being in the playoffs. And that, unfortunately means a couple teams got to come out. And Washington, one of those teams last year that failed and aren't making it. And the Islanders kind of in a similar position here. Just 3 points out now. So, and they've got 4 games to go, and points are going to be at a premium. And they fired their coach with 4 games to go. We'll see if Peter DeBoer can get the Islanders moving and shaking in the right direction for these final few games here. See if they can close the gap and find themselves, into the playoffs, into the postseason. I don't like their odds. I don't like their chances at this point, but it's possible. It's possible. Hopefully tonight's, a guaranteed 2 points for the Islanders. That puts them to within 1 of the wild card and 1 within Ottawa for that final wild card position. And the Islanders have actually had a lot of success against Toronto too. They've won 7 of the last 9 games against the Maple Leafs. So, Toronto has not fared well against New York, fully healthy, let alone missing pretty well half the roster at this point. Like, if you actually go look at who should be in the lineup and who isn't they're legitimately at this point missing half their roster. So I think we all know what direction this is going to go in. Kind of feel for Artur Akhtiamov, who's getting his first game in the NHL, and it's probably going to end in him getting pumped by the Islanders.
Well, yeah, his first game, it wasn't exactly a welcoming atmosphere either when he got put in for against the Oilers.
Yeah.
The Leafs were absolutely getting demolished in that one. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no Matthews. There's no Dakota Joshua, as you said. There's no Brandon Carlo. There's no
Tanev, right? No Stolarz. Like, just a bunch of injuries.
Yeah, it's crazy.
OEL.
No Bogru. Like, that's a tough one for the Leafs as well.
That's where we're at, Dave. It's like, man, Bogru's out of the lineup. They're gonna really struggle to score tonight. No Bogru. That's where this team is at. That is sad. That was a sad statement because of how true it was. No Bogru. They're gonna struggle.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
It's I mean, and look, you got Philip Myers. He'll help the tank a lot too.
Yeah, Simon Benoit, I'm excited to see Luke Haymes, though. I think, getting to watch Luke Haymes in this one, another game where we get to see William Villeneuve. Just get a peek at these guys. See if they can be part of the process moving forward.
Do you think Villeneuve will get in if they got Stetcher sitting there? Right.
I would hope so. Like,
I would hope so, too.
Why not? Like, if you're bringing them up, why not? What is Troy Stetcher? Like, you're probably not bringing Stetcher back. It was a nice story a couple months ago when he first got here as a waiver claim. It was a nice month while it lasted. But now he's on the ice for way too many goals and not playing, very smart hockey. He's not killing plays like he was. So, to me, I'd rather get a glimpse at Villeneuve for the final 4 games than trot out the likes of a Stetcher or a Myers or even a Simon Benoit. Like, I legitimately would rather watch Villeneuve play the next 4 games, see what he's got, give him a chance, than any of those 3 that I just mentioned.
I don't disagree with that. I thought that should have been the plan a long time ago to give these younger players the opportunity. It's just, I mean, the thing is, Villeneuve has been around. He was called up and didn't see any action. It's just like,
wow. Yeah. I just feel like at this point, just kind of, take a page out of Florida's playbook. Just start sitting guys. All right, there's 4 more games left. All right, Carlo, go sit for the year. Stolarz, you're done. Joshua, let's shut you down. OEL, shut you down. Maybe we'll see a situation where, Matthew Nyes pops up with an injury or something. They kind of shut him down for the last couple of games. Like, there's just, maybe Morgan Riley even. There's just no point in trotting these guys out there, especially the fringe players anyways, who are veterans who you don't see being part of your future. At least Villeneuve, Haymes, Grew, Quillen, they might be. You got to check and you got to find out, right? You got to give them a look. You didn't give Alex Steves enough of a look last year, and he took off, and now he's playing a nightly role for the Boston Bruins. And it's like, you had that guy in your system. And you just let him go because you didn't give him a chance. Give these guys a chance, see what they're made of. Maybe they'll surprise you. Bo Grew is a perfect example of that. Surprised everyone, and now it looks like he could be, possibly part of the team next year, or at least being, he'll be given a stronger look at the very least when the year begins. 6:45 start time, as you mentioned. So good to note that for anyone who was going to wheel around 10 after 7, throw the TV on. You'll be halfway through the first period by then. So make sure you're ready for that 6:45 puck drop tonight down in Long Island. Out in Seattle, though, Dave, they fired, Ron Francis stepped down, I guess is how it was technically.
Resigned.
Yeah, that's technically how it was worded. We all know what that means for a team that had playoff aspirations. He's has not really done anything with that organization since he went there. And he officially resigned earlier today. His name now probably will creep into the Toronto presidential search. Should it, Dave? Should it?
Should it? I
Do you
mean,
think there's a link? Do you think there's any link here where Francis steps down? Like, could he be stepping down because he wants to throw his hat into the Toronto ring? Like, is there any? You think there's anything there at all?
I don't know. Like to me, yeah, like he's got experience from his time with Carolina. You know, he does have.
What did Carolina do? What does Carolina do best?
Well, he is the one that brought in the kind of. Well, he had Waddell, and then I don't know if he brought in. Would he have? I'm just trying to think if he.
Polsky? I think he brought in Polsky, didn't he?
I don't know when Tolsky was officially hired by the Hurricanes, but you know it's possible. Like Carolina is very much very much big into the analytics. Like they were even before that. I'm just trying to see when did he join. Originally joining as so 2014. So yeah, he would have been there. So yeah, I can see a potential. And look, Ron Francis used to play for the Leafs.
Mhm.
Ron Francis is an Ontario native, Sault Ste. Marie, by the way. So yeah, I can see. And he's got a lot of experience working, in a front office, president and vice president of hockey operations. So like he's done it at that. I think he was also part owner of the Hurricanes at one point too, and then sold his stake in the team to Tom Dundon. So I can see where that potential link is. Now the Seattle stuff, yeah, he was the general manager there, but Seattle didn't get the same spoils that Vegas did in that expansion draft. The NHL is just like, we made it too easy for Vegas. Well, NHL teams made it too easy for Vegas. Let's be honest here. Seattle, not necessarily. I think he's done some good things in Seattle in terms of like they're not a great team, but they're not like bottom feeders until recently, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm not saying he's done a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I can appreciate that he clearly has an appreciation in analytics.
yeah.
You look at Carolina and you look at Seattle; those two teams have had great analytic numbers. Like even I know Seattle, they're like at the bottom of the basement, but you look at their numbers analytically, like they're not too shabby. Like expected goals, pretty sure they're like a top 10 team if I'm not mistaken. Or am I thinking of a different team? Oh no, never mind. I was definitely thinking of a different team. No, they're actually terrible in expected goal differential. I was actually thinking of the Utah Mammoth when I saw their numbers there. Different teams, totally different teams. But like I said, he came from the Carolina Hurricanes and kind of set them up. Like a lot of that core was drafted, developed, and he was part of the process before Eric Tolsky took over. The Hurricanes are the number one team. They're the standard when it comes to analytics. So that's the only thing that I can kind of look at it and be like, it could make some sense. Maybe, you bring him in, you bring in Sonny Mehta to be the GM. He comes in to be the president. And all of a sudden it's like, you got two guys who know a thing or two when it comes to analytics. And that does seem to be something that Keith Pelly and MLSE really seem to value and are going after in this next hire. Those two could be a decent little duo, I think, potentially. Whether or not it works, I don't know. But I thought that it was fitting, the timing of him stepping down as the Maple Leafs continue to look for candidates for their president/GM role. Ron Francis, at least I think, will throw his hat into the ring. I think he will.
I'm sure the search firm will send him a little note, see if he wants to throw his hat in the ring there.
If not there, I guess could possibly be Pittsburgh, right? Ronnie Francis, Sault Ste. Marie guy.
I don't know if Kyle wants to have that smoke. I mean, Nashville's looking for someone too. Let's not forget.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And we know about New Jersey, but
They need a new GM. Yep, definitely. And there might be another team out there that decides to move on from their GM once the season's over. Like maybe just waiting for the season to end. More of a traditional, situation. Like maybe Vancouver decides to move on from Jim Rutherford. I think it's very possible that we could see that happen at the end of the year, and maybe they decide to clean house. So there could be some more openings as well, and we'll see if Ronnie Francis can get back on the saddle. Maybe it's here in Toronto, maybe it's elsewhere, but I definitely think that he's a name to at least keep an eye on. Wouldn't be surprised if his name gets thrown around at least here in Toronto as they look for their new president / general manager. Anything else you wanted to get into today, Dave?
No, I mean we'll see how tomorrow is going to be a big day for the tank. Tomorrow's going to be a big day for the tank.
Yeah. Did you see McDavid last night? 5 points, hat trick.
Yeah, I think he heard our conversation about the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, he's like, I'll take that. No, I'll take that, guys. I'll take that. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Unreal performance from him. 5 points, hat trick.
Not bad.
It's because and this was billed as 2 MVP candidates, McDavid versus Celebrini,
and they traded goals at the start of the game. Celebrini scores, McDavid replies, and then McDavid replied again, and then McDavid replied next.
And then McDavid just like, "Hey kid, I know we were line mates, but you can take a seat now."
Yeah. 5-2, McDavid factors into all 5 points. And now he's got the Oilers, I believe, that has them a couple points up now, right? In the race in the Pacific. Yeah, puts them up 2 points on Vegas. So they now are sole owners of the top spot in the Pacific Division. Vegas in second, Anaheim in third. I doubt LA catches up there, but I guess
LA is squarely in the Nashville sights right now.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Nashville, LA, San Jose still in that mix. I guess Winnipeg still, just because they've got an extra game on Nashville, you could put them in that mix too. St. Louis is probably where it falls off for me, where they're not mathematically eliminated.
They did good to get out of the bottom 5, but unfortunately,
yeah, too big of a grave to dig out of here. They would have to go on quite the run. They're 6 points back. I mean, 6 points in 5 games. That's gonna be tough. It's gonna be real tough. But Winnipeg, San Jose, LA, Nashville, 4 teams, 1 spot. We'll see who comes out on top in the West and out East. I think at this point, you're probably, I guess he's still like Philly's not supplanted in there. I think in the East, I think Buffalo, Tampa, Montreal, Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Boston, I want to say, probably all in. So you got 2 spots. You got 1 more spot in the Metro in that second wild card position. You got Philly, Ottawa, Columbus, Detroit, the Islanders, and the Capitals all vying for those final couple of spots in the East. So going to be a fun final week of the NHL regular season. It's weird. Toronto not a part of any of those races. They're racing toward the bottom, which is uncharted territory. We started this podcast in right before COVID. So 2019, I think we started this podcast, or I started this podcast. We've never been in this situation. It's uncharted territory for everybody, but
streak is over, Mike. Streak is over.
Yeah, we'll see if they can continue toward Team Tank tonight. They're taking on the Islanders one more time. It's a 6:45 p.m. puck drop Eastern time. Leafs, Islanders down on the island. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.